I'm going to give a little bit of a background on myself and where I'm coming from with all of this and why I decided to jump into voiceover when I'm already the old age of 31. Most of my interest in this has come from my performance background of stand-up comedy, improv, and, well, no, that's it, stand-up and improv. I focused on general careers that had me speaking to people up front, in personal, on the fly. So everyone kind of has that voice, the customer service voice, also known as the mom voice. So I can kind of pour those voices on. I then ended up being a tour guide eventually here in Vancouver and Vancouver, British Columbia. And I loved the job. I loved thinking on my toes. I loved presenting. I loved telling facts, adding humor to it, adding some joy. We were given a general script to follow, but we were really encouraged to inject ourselves into each tourist fact that we would be giving. And so I had a lot of fun with that. I ended up being one of the top tour guides, one of the most commented on TripAdvisor, and I did do Toastmasters in high school, actually. I was a part of a quote-unquote youth ambassador pageant. Toastmasters was a big part of that because we ended up having to do a 3.5-minute talent and a 3.5-minute speech in front of a live crowd. My talent, I sang and played the guitar. I chose a medley of Johnny Be Good, Old Time Rock and Roll, and Blue Suede Shoes. But the best part of the pageant for me was giving my speech, and we had to do it a 3.5-minute speech. I did mine on being afraid of the dark, and I ended up getting a lot of laughs in my speech, and it just sort of became something that I craved. I just needed more of it. It's that attention thing I think a lot of performers understand. And after high school, I didn't want to do anything conventional, and I got really lucky in the parental department in that both of my parents were very supportive in my chasing of the arts and stand-up comedy. So it was actually my mom who first sent me to San Francisco to do a 3-day stand-up workshop with Kurtis Matthews, at the San Francisco Comedy College. So that was my first foray into stand-up comedy. I got to do 5 minutes at the little comedy college club there. That was awesome. When I went back home to Cranbrook, BC, where I originally grew up, there's a small comedy club there, and so I asked to be the intro, the opener, the MC for the touring comics who came through our town. And so that kind of helped me get my foot in the door to meet some people in stand-up comedy. After San Francisco and kind of getting my feet wet at home at the comedy club, I went to Los Angeles. My parents, again, being wonderfully, weirdly supportive of the arts parents, sent me to Los Angeles to do a 5-day workshop with Louis Anderson and Kyle Cease. It was an amazing workshop. We got to hear from industry professionals, true stand-up comedians. We actually ended up getting the opportunity to do 5 minutes of our own sets at the Comedy Store. So that was definitely a highlight of my life. When I got back from Los Angeles, I moved to Calgary. I ultimately ran out of money, had to move home. Later that year, I ended up saving up enough from living at home to fund a 3-week trip to Chicago, where I took improv classes at the Second City there. I took improv levels 1 and 2, scene writing levels 1 and 2, and a solo performance course. So that was definitely another highlight of my life. From Chicago, I moved back to Calgary, gave it another shot there. Definitely got my feet further into the stand-up comedy scene. It was a lot of fun, and I figured the next kind of Canadian step would be to go to Vancouver. And I ended up signing up to the Vancouver Film School to take their 4-month acting intensive program, which is what brought me out to the West Coast here. And as we all know, not the most lucrative of career options, and Vancouver also happens to be one of the most expensive cities in the world. So my day job, which was in a restaurant at a hotel always, I got semi-promoted it, but my day job turned to a night job, and by the time I got off work, most of the open mics were over. During this time, I dropped into quite a deep depression, but it really took a toll on me in 2016, and that was actually the last year that I performed stand-up comedy. I remember this because I do miss it. I miss performing, but my mental health got the better of me there for a while. And then 2020 happened. So, of course, 2020 is still happening. But here we are in a pandemic. We've been quarantined, and I've really learned, as much as I liked my past jobs and the people I worked with, and yeah, you have your good days and everything, I got tired of being yelled at over things like shampoo and shower caps and the War of 1812. Of course, just wanting to get out of customer service isn't the only reason that I wanted to jump into voice acting. I've always had a passion for performing, whether that was as a kid in front of the family or on stage as a stand-up, etc. I love the idea through acting you get to be a little bit of every job you might have ever wanted to try. I'm really excited at the potential of being able to pursue a career in storytelling. I love telling stories, whether they are true stories or maybe they're just embellished just a little bit, or completely fictitious stories. I want to be able to tell these stories and do justice to them. Check out my following videos. I'm going to be reading some interesting facts. So even if you don't care about my voice acting career, you can actually just learn some cool facts. So bye everybody!